Hello and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to help teenagers deal with stress. Seems like they're under more and more stress all the time, but are they really? Or do they just not know how to handle it? Well, that's what we'll be discussing next. Now, if we're going to help teenagers deal with stress, we got to understand what they're doing in response to stress. First thing we want to talk about is that digital aspect, the escape into the digital world. Then we're going to want to talk about any risky behaviors we see, silent strugglers, those who are kind of withdrawing from the world, and what can we do to help give them a better way to deal with stress. We're going to be talking about all that in this video. In the years I worked with teenagers, and the more reports we hear, and having conversations with my own kids, friends in that circle, when you ask them, like, about the gaming and use of phones, social media, if you dig down, and you don't need to dig very deep, it's an escape. It's a way to kind of alleviate stress. They get lost in that world, especially now with phones, watching videos, social media, scanning what other people are doing and saying. The problem is, in so many incidences, it actually increases stress levels as they begin social comparison and kind of trying to keep up with the Joneses and all those sort of socially related stressors. That gets exasperated when they get lost in their phones. And that's a very common way that they respond. More so with young ladies, for girls, than for boys who get drawn into that world of gaming. And yes, they can be doing the gaming on the phone as well as on a laptop or other computer based. So they get drawn into that digital world. In either case, the results are the same. In the video world, through social media, through gaming, through YouTube, is a very powerful way to kind of just let yourself go. That we used to, TV. TV still is. People, that's how they relieve their stress. They get caught up in those world of the TV world. But it's even more portable now with our phones and such. So that digital escape is an important element to consider. When people in general, teenagers specifically, feel stressed, they're reaching out to relieve that. Now, teenagers often will start doing more risky behaviors, whether it's through sexual promiscuity, eating issues, cutting, picking, reaching for drugs and alcohol. These activities can become very dangerous in a lot of ways, socially, emotionally, physically, right? So imagine somebody who's become sexually promiscuous and beyond sexually transmitted disease potential, how teen pregnancy can shatter teen world. It's highly risky behavior, emotionally as well as physically. Cutting, picking, those things are also risky behaviors that can lead to lots of different other challenges, again, on an emotional and even physical level. So whatever we're talking about in terms of risky behavior, adrenaline rushes, some of those things that they begin to try to seek, can lead to some really dangerous and detrimental consequences, not the least of which is death. One of the coping mechanisms for stress is avoidance, right? It's the trying to put it away from you any way that you can, put it away from you mentally. So maybe you are getting involved in gaming, you're getting involved in, watching YouTube videos, TV all the time, risky behavior, whatever it is, you are trying to avoid the thing that's creating the stress by doing something else. And that something else has got to be powerful enough that you kind of forget that. Sleeping too much can be a thing. Anything you are avoiding. You don't come to school, right? That's what a number of my former students have had an issue with. The stress of school, the social, not fitting in socially, create stress in their lives. What do? You avoid that. I'm not going to go. I don't feel comfortable around these peers and these friends and these people. So you don't come. And when you do come, you try to avoid those interactions because you feel uncomfortable about them. They're stress creating situations. So you don't really interact in classes. You kind of zone out in classes. You sit by yourself in the cafeteria or at the end of a table and you're just kind of on the periphery of any sort of group. This is what we're talking about with these silent strugglers who withdraw, right? They are trying to escape. They're trying to hide. They don't necessarily act out. They don't necessarily do those things. They're trying to avoid by not engaging or getting involved in that area. School is a powerful one that's creating stress in their life. So, what do we do to help teenagers? Obviously, I talk about this in almost all my videos. We got to help them kind of shift some of their thinking patterns. We got to help them shift that mindset. We got to help them find ways to better deal with stress than avoiding it, trying to self-medicate, trying to drown it out through risky behaviors, all of those things. We need to give them some habits and routines and rituals that help them more in a better, healthy way, mentally and physically healthy way of dealing with stress. You know, we had a student near the end of my teaching career who, this was around the time of COVID too. So coming out of COVID, this child had lost one of the things that had been a real saving grace for him, and that was gymnastics. He was a very good gymnast. He liked the social connection. He was connecting with those students. Well, yeah, you got it. During COVID, right? What happened? Gymnastics stopped. He could potentially do gymnastics and train individually, but that also wasn't the same, and trying to mask up and do all these precautionary things, so he didn't go. He lost that anchor in his life, and with that came a spiraling downward cycle of withdrawal, of anxiety and reactivity, right? Emotionally much more reactive. His parents began to see it, anger outbursts. So yeah, we've got adolescence is kicking in, all those things, but that removal of one of these anchors in his life, physical anchor, and that opportunity to connect personally, face to face with peers, was now gone. It got replaced through gaming, increase in gaming, removal from that, more irritability, and this was cycling out of control. Our challenge was to try to interrupt this pattern, interrupt this cycle. And I will be perfectly blunt and honest. It was a real struggle with this young man as uh, he was putting up big walls in front of him. And we had to try to break down those walls. We ran out of time, my program. We age out middle school, eighth grade year. So this was his eighth grade year. And going into high school, we kind of give what the recommendation is. We've got to try to get him back involved in gymnastics. He wasn't having any part of that. We've got to find some way to get him involved physically and connecting with peers, the things that was his anchor beforehand. We've got to get him some real boundaries on the gaming. There was a gaming addiction. He would get physically violent when we tried to cut back this computer time, and at home it became a real problem. They were getting professional help, absolutely, but you could kind of see that downward cycle, the downward spiral, because we couldn't get in place the habits and routines and rituals that can support the dealing with that stress, and all he was falling back on was these risky behaviors and this withdrawal and running away, and that pattern had to get interrupted for the change to take place. We've come to the end of another video, and I'm inviting you to Check out our other videos, subscribe to our channel. In particular, we might want to check out the video, What Have Video Games Done to Teenage Mental Health? And we're going to be doing a whole series now on stress. So I hope you take something from this video and come back and watch some of the others as we deal with stress in its relationship to mental health. So we'll see you in another video.